A unified viscoplastic, geometric, and topological framework for pathophysiology Part 1, number 1713, the 12th of July 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category Methodology. Preface. This document serves as a clear, straightforward explanation of a completely novel research methodology. My intent is not to sell a commercial product or a polished medical theory, but rather to document an original scientific synthesis, the combination of viscoplasticity, to measure the continuous, time-dependent behavior of internal physiological forces, and topology, to map the global, external trajectory of a patient's health state. This unified framework is executed practically within a modern computational data structure using data science. To my knowledge, no medical or engineering researchers have ever applied this specific approach, because this methodology bridges to vastly different worlds the mathematical laws of physics and the dynamic, noisy variables of chronic disease and mortality diseases. It stands entirely on its own. Traditional medicine relies heavily on isolated chemical biomarkers and static linear statistics, often missing the long-term structural wear and tear of pathology. By treating the human body's regulatory systems through the lens of continuous mechanics and multidimensional geometry, I have carved out a distinct pathway for tracking systemic health and recovery. As a pioneer of this specific integration, I have written this explanation to clearly define the architectural pipeline of my work and to establish a baseline for a new way of analyzing human health data. This is the purpose of this piece of writing. The interdisciplinary nature of this methodology is a natural consequence of my 44 years of study across 12 academic disciplines. As a result, certain concepts may be unfamiliar or difficult for some readers, but this breadth is essential to the methodology itself and cannot be separated from its scientific foundation. Section 1. The author's perspective and the pathophysiological challenges of recovery methodology articulated in this paper is the ultimate synthesis of a 64-year intellectual journey that began in 1964 in Taiwan, when I first commenced my formal study of mathematics in college at the age of 16. Now at age 80, this lifelong journey encompasses 18 years of rigorous on-campus academic study across 7 universities, culminating in 6 distinct degrees. My formal education in America started from BS degrees in mechanical engineering and computer science, leading to a master's degree in biomechanics at the University of Iowa. This was followed by doctoral studies in fluid dynamics at the Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey, and subsequent doctoral coursework in both mechanical engineering and artificial intelligence at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT). This broad academic foundation in mathematics, physics, and engineering was further strengthened through postgraduate studies in structural bridge desik at Columbia University for 1 year, and soil mechanics and stochastic processes at the University of California at Berkeley for 3 years, together with the 3 years of MBA study covering finance, marketing, economics, and business management. During 2001 to 2009, I independently studied psychology and personality disorders from reading over 300 textbooks. From 2010 to 2026, I continued with an intensive self-study of human health and disease, encompassing both physiology and pathology from trading more than 10,000 published medical research papers. In total, I have devoted 44 years to studying 12 different academic disciplines. This academic background directly drove a diverse 50-year professional career and self-directed medical research journey. On the physical and computational engineering front, I worked on early computer hardware and workstation design, the construction of data center clusters, and the development of mechanical computer-aided design CAD software, one of the earliest functional examples of applied AI technology. This path included pioneering research into large language models (LLMs) and computational linguistics as early as 1983, a paradigm that could not be fully translated into commercial products at the time because of historical limitations in processing speed and storage capacity. My subsequent professional work focused on advanced software development for graphics processing units (GPUs), helping establish the software foundation of modern AI, and on electronic design automation (EDA) for semiconductor chip design synthesis. This work provided deep, practical expertise in electrical engineering and computer science (CS), acquired directly through industry experience. In the latter phase of my career, I redirected this same engineering and computational perspective toward human systems, A 9-year self-directed study of psychology and personality disorders produced more than 200 research papers. This was followed by a comprehensive 17-year self-directed investigation into clinical medicine, culminating in approximately 1,450 to 1,500 medical research papers and contributing to a lifetime total of 1,711 papers written to date. Most importantly, this theoretical framework underwent its most profound personal validation during the first 379 days following my own hemorrhagic stroke. During that period, I completed 405 research papers on the human brain and neuroscience, an average of more than one paper per day. During this time, research was not separate from recovery. It became an integral part of the recovery process itself. Research provided me with both deep knowledge and psychological calmness. It helped me better understand my own pathophysiology while gradually replacing fear and uncertainty with disciplined observation. On logical analysis and continuous learning, my research was not merely an academic pursuit. It became an essential component of my recovery from multiple life-threatening diseases. 25 years ago, in 2001, after selling my semiconductor chip design company, I began developing an AI-based medical application for mobile phones. Following the introduction of Apple's iPhone in 2007, I migrated my medical AI database software to the iPhone platform. This transition marked an important step toward integrating a large personalized medical database and accumulated medical intelligence with modern portable computing technology, making the system more practical for everyday use. This early work revealed a profound clinical reality. Live-in physiological systems generate lifestyle information and biomarker data that are highly dynamic and nonlinear, inherently noisy, and often exhibit substantial delays before measurable physiological responses become apparent. These delayed responses are especially evident because the biological signals are filtered through complex physiological regulatory mechanisms, including the autonomic nervous system and neural conduction pathways. As a result, conventional linear statistical models often fail to capture the long-term evolution of chronic pathophysiological changes. The methodology presented in this paper was developed to address this gap. It synthesizes a lifetime of experience in solid mechanics, fluid dynamics, biomechanics, soil mechanics, structural bridge design, topology, stochastic processes, artificial intelligence, and multidimensional data science into a unified engineering framework for modeling the progression of chronic disease as a continuous viscoplastic deformation of a high-dimensional topological manifold. Section 2. The pure mathematical relationship between geometry and topology. To understand how clinical data maps onto human illness, one must first establish the fundamental relationship between geometry and topology. At their core, geometry and topology are sister disciplines of mathematics that both study shape, space, and structure. However, they examine these concepts through very different lenses. Geometry is concerned with precise measurements, whereas topology is concerned with continuity and connectivity. The fundamental difference lies in measurement versus connectivity. The easiest way to understand this distinction is to consider which properties of a shape each field is designed to preserve. Geometry, the study of measurement. Geometry is concerned with distances, angles, areas, volumes, and curvature. If you change the size, shape, or curvature of a geometric object, you fundamentally change its geometry. Its primary questions are: how far, how large, what angle, what curvature. For example, a square and a rectangle are geometrically different because their side lengths differ. Likewise, a sphere and a flat sheet of paper are geometrically different because one is curved while the other is flat. Topology, the study of continuity. Topology, often called rubber sheet geometry, ignores measurements entirely. Instead, it focuses on continuity, connectivity, boundaries, and holes. In topology, an object may be stretched, bent, or twisted continuously, provided it is not torn, punctured, or glued together. Its primary questions are: how is it connected? How many boundaries does it have? Does it contain any holes? For example, a square, a circle, and a rectangle are all topologically equivalent homeomorphic because each can be continuously deformed into the others without tearing or joining. Similarly, a coffee mug and a donut are topologically equivalent because each contains exactly one hole. Now let us examine their deeper relationship. Although geometry and topology appear to study different aspects of shape, they are fundamentally connected. Topology defines the underlying structure that must remain unchanged, while geometry describes the specific measurements and curvature that can vary within that structure. In other words, topology establishes the framework, whereas geometry describes details. Topology constrains geometry. The Gauss-Bonnet theorem, one of the most elegant results in mathematics, demonstrates this relationship. The Gauss-Bonnet theorem shows that if the geometric curvature is accumulated over an entire closed, smooth surface, the total is determined solely by the surface's topology. This total is related to the Euler characteristic, a topological quantity that reflects the object's overall structure, including its number of holes. The implication is remarkable. A surface may be stretched, bent, or deformed in countless ways, changing its local curvature everywhere, yet its total curvature remains fixed as long as its topology does not change. Only by tearing the surface or creating a new hole can this fundamental topological quantity change. Geometry helps reveal topology. Geometric topology, the relationship also works in the opposite direction. Many complicated topological spaces become understandable only after a suitable geometry is assigned to them. This principle was dramatically demonstrated by the Poincare conjecture and the broader geometrized Ein conjecture, solved by Grigori Perelman in the early 2000s. His work showed that complex three-dimensional topological spaces can be decomposed into simpler pieces, each possessing one of a small number of fundamental geometric structures. By using the Ricci flow to gradually smooth geometric curvature, the underlying topology could finally be understood. An everyday analogy: the subway map. Consider the difference between a city's street map and its subway map. A street map is geometric. Distances, angles, and directions are essential for navigation. A subway map, however, is primarily topological. Stations are rarely drawn at their true locations, distances are known to scale, and track angles are often distorted. Nevertheless, the map remains useful because it preserves the essential information: how stations are connected and where different lines intersect. Geometry tells us exactly where things are, whereas topology tells us how they are connected. This is part 1.